This show is brought to you by Liberty1Tech. That's me, Tolly, JT Williams here. Check me out at Liberty1Tech.com if you would. Save 15% on the Talk Text Plus subscription. Get you all kind of VIP expert technology help you all the time, 24/7, unlimited tech support. Pretty cool offer. Hope you'll check it out. And we're broadcasting live on the Heart of America Broadcast Network. I've got my computer screen in front of me here, and yes, we're broadcasting on video. Oh, and I forgot to stop the audio from playing there, but we're broadcasting on video, and I got to tell you, there's about 15 different windows up, so if this is working, I'd really appreciate your calls today, because if my fingers are flying across the keyboard, touching everything here, trying to make things work. So if you want to join the show, it'd be a great day to do that. Help you with tech questions, or just talk tech in general. There may be a geek or two listening out there. Call in at 800-256-4507. That's 800-256-4507. And, yes, we're broadcasting on the Heart of America Network. That's not the usual number, but I promise it will get you through to me. And we're going to talk technology today. Smartphones. Do you have a smartphone? Let me just take a quick break here to make sure that we're actually working in places. YouTube working, Facebook working, I think Periscope's working. Hey, it's working. All right. Speaking of tech, we're working on tech. Smartphones. You got one? Which one do you have? Are you an iPhone user, Android user, have a long time standing smartphone, or do you upgrade every year? Do you know that smartphone sales have declined? They've been declining for the last 2 or 3 years here, and finally in America we're seeing that happen. In fact, you might notice that Apple is kind of desperately running an ad right now for iPhone XR or XR or whatever you want to call it. And they're saying, save now, limited time. It's probably the first holiday season where iPhone and big smartphone manufacturers like Samsung are a little concerned they may not see the kind of returns that they wanted to get every holiday season. Now, I know some people that are just out there buying a $1,200 iPhone, what is it, the XS Max? You can't say XS Max. Nope, it's got an X, but Apple wants you to say 10. So it's not the XS, it's the XS. And that XS Max is like a $1,200 phone. So I know some of you are thinking, well, it's not declining for me. I just spent $1,200 on this great iPhone. I know. But in general, the smartphone market is kind of like cars. You know, when car manufacturers stopped running out of actual new features, they started just redesigning things, making them look a little different, adding this and that. Have you seen a car come out in the last? Now, I'm not a car guy. I'm a computer guy. But have you seen a car come out in the last 10 years that honestly just had a feature you really wanted? I almost said to die for, but there's so many car wrecks, I thought, well, that might hit home for someone. So have you seen a car that has like a feature in the last 10 years? Because my wife's got a Ford Focus, and it's got that Ford Sync built in that talks to you, and it's so frustrating to use, so frustrating. They try to make these things like a feature, and really, in what turns out to be, they're not a feature at all. They're more of a hindrance. I think she'd be happier with actually just turning a knob and dialing in the radio station, or popping in a CD and playing her music that way. Well, smartphones have kind of gotten there. Smartphones, we plateaued a couple of years ago. It really became, well, the cameras are great now. You know, when smartphones first came out, the cameras were like, well, it'll work. You can send a blurry picture to your friends. If you had the first iPhone, you couldn't even send a picture message. Okay, we're getting some interesting comments on Facebook. Hey, that reminds me, though. You can join us. I wonder where this is coming from. This is interesting. You can join us in the Facebook room. Oh, I need a producer. Yeah, let's see here. Didn't expect this one to happen. Getting trolled. I wonder where this is coming from. You know, we'll just let it go. Just ignore the trolls. Don't feed them. So, anyways, you know, car manufacturers realized, hey, we just need to change the style, change how change how things look. We'll add fins or spoilers or something creative, and smartphones have kind of gotten there. Smartphones have gotten to the point to where you get new designs and shapes and thinner, lighter, faster. But honestly, they already are doing everything they're going to do pretty well. A lot of people are holding off on upgrading. They're at least getting out of the every year cycle, maybe even out of the every 2 year cycle. This will be one of the first years where I haven't upgraded. This is, you know, I wonder where we're getting rated from. I did not expect that. So, anyways, this is a Samsung Galaxy S8 right here. It's a 2.5-year-old phone. An iPhone 10 right here. They look almost identical. I mean, they're completely different manufacturers. And let me touch. We're getting some interesting comments in Facebook. Texting Michael Hart there, the host of the Heart of America Network. So I'm really kind of tickled by this. This is not what I expected for a first broadcast. So I guess I should step back real quick and say this is actually a test broadcast and a real broadcast. So Heart of America airs every day on this network, live roughly around 8 a.m. Central Time. That's about 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Pacific, and some other time in UTC. You can listen to all sorts of different shows there. And those shows will broadcast different episodes, different type shows. But we're going to see what we can do with Saturdays here. And Liberty1Tech Live, which I've done on my own channel a couple times, might be one of those places to fill in that Saturday gap there. So we're looking forward to trying this out and seeing how it goes. Not a formal commitment on my part or anyone's part to bring this to you every week, but we're going to talk tech and talk about things that interest you. We're going to take care of the Facebook. We're going to finally take care of this stuff here. Mainly because I just don't want people to be offended by what they're saying. You ever heard of raids? When someone goes into a chat room and they intend to just cause chaos and havoc, they call that a raid. And we're getting raided right now. And I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if there's something unusual about this. But I think I blocked the two biggest offenders. Who knows? Maybe they just started with their adult beverages a little too early. I don't know about that. So where was I? Call in 800-256-4507. 800-256-4507. Really would help me out today, believe me. Smartphones, do you have an iPhone? Do you have an Android phone? What version of iOS do you run? Do you know that if you need security, if you need a smartphone to be secure, you always have to be on the latest version. You always want to have all those security vulnerabilities fixed and patched to make sure that you don't have known exploits available on your phone. Problems that or vulnerabilities that can cause problems not just for your phone operating, but that can also allow a hacker inside your phone and able to take over and spy on you. That's bad. We don't want that. We want your privacy. So if you're on an iPhone, the good news is Apple makes it really easy for you to update. Apple, from the very beginning of the iPhone, made it possible for you to just basically click one button. It'll back up your data, upgrade, and all that. And your phone, for the most part, works. And this latest iOS 12 actually did something unusual in that it works even better on older devices. It made some older devices that normally would slow down with new updates. It made them even faster. The iPhone, let's see if I got one here. I think I got an iPhone 5C back here and somewhere. You had to go all the way back to the 5C. This is a iPhone 5C, which is basically an iPhone 5. Came out the same year as a 5S, but it had the guts of a 5. You had to go all the way back to the 5C to find one that would not work with iOS 12. You have a 5S or 6, 6S, 7. All those work better with iOS 12, made it faster. And I really like to think that Apple was doing that for the consumers, and it had nothing at all to do with their scrutiny they were getting for having throttled devices because of battery issues. Remember that? Apple slowed down iPhones because their batteries were near capacity. And here's a technical detail. So this didn't get a lot of news, but your phone is just like any other appliance in the sense that the more it does, the more power it needs. And if a request demanded too much power, more than the battery can supply, it crashes. And so that was why Apple said they were slowing down deliberately older models. They said, well, batteries would naturally decay, and we just assume an average of this amount of decay. Apple got in some hot water for that, and so they eventually added a setting that allowed you to disable throttling, and they just warned you, hey, look, your phone may crash more often. And that happened to me. When I was dealing with the iPhone 6 and I was on iOS 11, I would see that phone crash once in a while because the 6 battery was so old, and iOS 11 was demanding more than it could handle. But anyway, so Apple on iOS 12 they came out with an incredibly efficient upgrade. Made your older phones work faster, and you don't see that a lot. Almost everywhere you get an upgrade and your computer, your phone, your device, it slows down. So props to Apple for that. However, though, if you're an Android user, even if you, and again, you can't tell the difference really, but this is a Samsung Galaxy S8. If you're on Android, this is running, even though I keep upgrades as much as possible, an upgrade as often as possible, the version of Android running on here is still rather old. And you can't upgrade it beyond that old version. So, because the way the Android works, they don't have these deals with carriers and stuff, and so the carriers have to get in the mix, and they have to put it in what they call a custom baseband and all those other things. So, if you're really concerned about security, unfortunately for you, an Android phone may not be the best option. Now, Google's Pixel phone, the Google Pixel 3, because it's straight from Google, it gets the updates the fastest. But others, like the very, very popular Samsung line, it just takes months and months of kind of being exposed a little bit for things to roll out to them. So security is the main thing you worry about. You may want to spend extra on the iPhone. But then, you also have the people on the other end of the spectrum who's like, I don't really care about all these smartphone features. I just want to make a phone call. Well, if that's you, there are a lot of good, quote, smartphones that are kind of dumb. Smartphones that are not high-end $1,000 computer machines in the pocket with high-end cameras that might work great for you, like the Samsung, I think it's the J3. We have AT&T service here, and honestly, AT&T is deploying new towers and repeaters or broadcasters, but sometimes their coverage where my wife works is really, really awful because she's right underneath the tower, and she's so underneath the tower that it kind of shoots over their head there. So when she walks into work, her signal is more or less gone. So we bought her what some people call a burner phone, what a cell phone company might call a prepaid phone, a month-to-month plan. And it doesn't stay active or anything, but just in case AT&T's having a really bad day, she always can activate that phone. And when she does, it's a Samsung J3. And we play around with it here on Wi-Fi, and just to experiment with it. And that one's on Verizon, by the way. It's a straight talk phone, so we use Verizon towers. So it's a different coverage. But that J3, it works. I mean, it gets you online, basically. It gets you on Facebook, basically. It gets you on Twitter, basically. It'll let you check your email, basically. So if you just need a basic smartphone, which is kind of a contradiction of terms, but if you just want a smartphone that does the basics, you might look at, you can spend less than $100. I think that phone was $60. That'll save you a lot of money. In fact, have you heard about vitamin water? Me neither. Until the other day. Vitamin water, I guess I've seen them in the store shelves. I do not drink their flavored water. I don't know if I have no clue as to if the vitamin water actually has health benefits like they might want to claim. But they're going to pay someone, maybe, $100,000 to give up their smartphone. Sounds interesting. The idea is that they will have you post, ironically enough, on Twitter, and they will screen the applicants for creativity, interest, and they'll probably pick the person who looks the most likely to have the hardest time getting rid of their smartphone. I mean, if you want to win this competition, you need to like go on there with the phone glued to the end of your fingertips and say, I can't get rid of this phone, but I'm going to try. And if you succeed in this vitamin water smartphone challenge, or whatever they're calling it, Vitamin Water will actually pay you $100,000. You're allowed a dumb phone. You're allowed a flip phone. You can use a cell phone. But you cannot use a smartphone. So you can play Snake. But you can't go online and play Fortnite. Remember Snake? Anyways. $100,000 there. Speaking of privacy and hacking into your phone, security, one of the questions I get at Liberty1Tech the most often is, what kind of antivirus do you recommend? Do you need an antivirus? You might be surprised to know that, honestly, I do not recommend running an antivirus software. I think that, honestly, today viruses are so fast-moving, so quick to change, they evolve, that your antivirus programs really, they only work by one way: keeping out unknown stuff. It's not about who has the biggest database of viruses or who does the most research anymore. The real way to keep your computer safe is to do things that are basic computer security and have been forever, which is to use a secure browser that doesn't have exposed holes in it. Like, Internet Explorer used to have what they called ActiveX. ActiveX basically was just like giving a hacker a key into your Windows computer and asking them not to use it. I mean, it was so vulnerable, such an open door to hackers. That's why Microsoft has basically forced users into using their new browser, Edge, which was redesigned from the ground up. And Edge is not an incredibly great browser, but at least it is more secure than Internet Explorer used to be. Google Chrome, Firefox, much safer than Internet Explorer used to be. If you're using Internet Explorer, you're basically just asking for your computer to get infected. And believe me, I still see it. I still see people using Windows 7 running Internet Explorer. They have 15 different toolbars or search request hijackers. And, their information is just at the whim of whoever is stealing it. Whoever is wanting to get a copy of it. They might be sending them to different nefarious websites to get other, Bitcoin mined or other access. The world out there, it's not a scary world. The internet, I don't want to make you think the internet's a scary place, but it's a very big place. And you've got everything out there. Everything. So the best antivirus to have is actually education. To know what to do on the computer. Your best antivirus, a ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, is the old saying. Just an ounce of education here. Don't open emails that sound urgent. You might think, well, what's the point in urgent? I'm telling you, no one sends urgent emails. If it's really urgent and they know you, they call you. If it's urgent and it's government, they probably don't even email. They actually, if you're like today's the last day to sign up for the so-called Affordable Care Act healthcare, the Obamacare, they'll text you. No one sends truly critical, urgent emails without some other kind of contact information. So the more that an email tries desperately to get you to open it and react quickly, the more you should be concerned that it's not legitimate. The more it is likely trying to trick you. Walmart, your package can't be delivered. Click here now to update your delivery address. If you don't act, you'll still get refunded, but we'll keep 17%. What you didn't notice was that Walmart was spelled with 2 L's. Phishing email, trying to get you to believe that someone somehow has a package delivered to you and you have to cancel it. Now, it's designed to scare and trick you. That's the best antivirus. Know what's out there. Don't respond to it. Also, keeping these vulnerabilities patched is important. Again, the most important antivirus is really just to keep everything that's unknown out. And sometimes there is a flaw that gets discovered that has accidentally opened up a tiny, tiny crack in your operating system, in Windows and Mac OS, iOS, Android. So run updates. Run updates. I know they're annoying, and especially on Windows, because it says we're going to install updates for the next 3 hours while we restart your computer. Gosh, that's so frustrating. But it's important. It's important you do that, because if you don't, when they put out these updates, they're small. They're not the full package of the operating system. So these hackers will go through and look at the code in the update and say, well, what's it patching? What's it fixing? Let's go attack that. You oftentimes only have days until the updates that just got released are being exploited if you didn't put them on. So do that. Use a Wi-Fi router. Keeping out unknown traffic that is, you might have heard the term firewall. Well, guess what? A Wi-Fi router works as a firewall. By the very nature of how routing works on the internet, a router says, well, hey, what computer asked for this information? We'll route that information to that computer. So if I go to Liberty1Tech.com and click on something, my computer sends a request, give me the rest of Liberty1Tech.com. And my router sends a request to the internet, and the internet sends a response back. But then my router, it sees multiple devices on the network. It says, which device amongst the 30 on this network asked for Liberty1Tech.com? My computer raises its hand and says, that's me. I was asking for it. Okay, so the router routes or hands that information back to my computer. The benefit there is if your computer did not request the information, the router goes, well, we'll just discard it. We'll just drop the packet. It's like a return to sender. So a Wi-Fi router, by its very nature, is a firewall, and a very important one. Because out there prowling around the internet are what they call worms. Worms or Trojans or viruses, it really doesn't matter. We call it malicious software now, malware. And some of the most prevalent out there are thanks to guys like the National Security Agency. You know about them? The NSA? Yeah. The NSA let their hacking tools get exposed online, and Microsoft had had vulnerabilities that could crack a hole into any Microsoft operating system dating back for over 10 years. And either the NSA never told Microsoft, hey, you guys got some pretty big flaws here. You might want to patch them for your own security. Or the NSA asked Microsoft, hey, look, please never patch these holes. We're using them to hack into the Iranians or whatever other government that the NSA wanted to spy on. And yet, our government oftentimes talks about wanting to have a master key to unlock all encryption. Never mind the fact that the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI have all had some of their private data exposed online by various hackers, from Russian hackers to perhaps Chinese hackers, exposing these tools out there. Also just by accident. I mean, they had, I forget what her name was. It was like Rainbow Christmas or something. That may be the girl on that wilderness show, but I forgot her name. It was like a reality winner. There we go. Reality winner. She basically takes some information home about Russia, and I think they turned out she was exposed. I forget the story, but basically she through running some kind of software, the Russians were able to spy on her computer because they knew that she was an NSA coder and something. And basically, at just a very fundamental level, you don't want to trust the federal government to have a backdoor key, because it's not that we don't want to catch the bad guy. It's not that we don't want to give the, quote, good guys, and I put that in quotes because sometimes I'm not so sure the government is the, quote, good guy. It's not that you don't want to give the good guys all the tools they need, but to give them a master key is to basically say, well, nothing can be secure. Nothing can be secured or private ever. It would be very close to the equivalent of the government saying, well, we know that some houses have domestic violence going on, and to crack down on this very awful crime called domestic violence, we're going to mandate that all houses be made completely of glass so that everyone can see inside them always. Domestic violence is a horrible thing. Child abuse, all those sort of things that would happen in the privacy of your home. I mean, those are awful, horrible things that should be caught and prosecuted. But how far are you willing to go to expose your privacy so that some very few criminals could be caught? I don't want to live in a society, and I doubt that you do either, where they mandate no privacy for anyone to catch the very few criminals, even if the criminals are doing horrible things. Could you imagine? Because this is exactly what the FBI calls for. Could you imagine if the government said, we're gonna require that all locks to your house, every lock to your personal private safes, have a master key that we can use? Now, the truth is, locks are very insecure. They're basically just like a please don't come in here, because you can hack or pick a lock pretty easily. But forget that for a second. Imagine the government saying, we're going to mandate that everyone have a master key to your house. And we don't even have to imagine. We don't even have to pretend. You know why? This happened after 9/11. Not with houses, but with your luggage. The TSA, the Transportation Security Agency or Administration, said that we're going to require all these locks on all luggage to have a back door for the TSA. It's true. Remember that? If you fly, you know this. What you may have forgotten is it only took months for the TSA to take a picture of the keys and post it online to say, here's our backdoor set of keys. And what the TSA didn't think of, or didn't know, or was just too incompetent to realize, anytime you take a picture of a key, you're giving away the secret. You're giving away, I don't have a pair of keys handy here. Okay. Here's my key if you're watching on video. Now, this is to my car, but I'm hiding up parts of it. These ridges and bumps and holes, they're like the passcode. And if you take a high enough resolution picture, as the TSA did, of your keys, let me expose a little bit more there. It's like giving out the ones and zeros, the bits and bytes, the PIN code. So within months of the U.S. government, through the TSA, mandating everyone have back doors into their luggage, the U.S. government gave away the back door. They said, well, we're just gonna expose it. So now you can go in and get a 3D printer, fill it with some 3D printing goo, and make your own TSA master locks that can unlock any luggage. And yet, after almost every single incident of violent crime that they try to call terrorism, even if it wasn't for explicitly political motivations, it's probably just a bunch of stupid teenagers or 20-year-olds that think they're fascist and doing it for religious cause. They're not actually motivated by political gain. They're just motivated by like the gang violence. Honestly, it's a collective belonging. That's another story. That's a political topic. But every time there's a violent crime of some real scale that has a big scary factor, the government says, "See, we need backdoor access so we can catch these guys, so we can find out these plots before they happen." Do you remember the Paris, the gunman in Paris that set off a few explosives at the arena where there was a soccer match going on, and then they shot? I forget the exact story. Do you remember that? Right after that, the FBI came out very hard saying, we need backdoor access. We need a master key globally. Australia's trying to do this right now. Do you know what came out later? Find out those Paris attackers, and I forget what we ended up calling that situation, but it was an attack on Paris. They were using plain text messages to talk. The government could have, if they would have been aware of them, could have already accessed it. Here's something to think about. After Edward Snowden revelations, we found out that the NSA, with these massive data centers, is basically sucking up all of your data, all the internet's data, and storing it for playback later. And so all this, now here's the thing, they can't necessarily search everything. Well, once you discard the big stuff like YouTube and Netflix, the internet's not trafficking, well, it is, but it's not an insurmountable amount of data. Because the text of the internet, it compresses. And processor power when you're a nation state, when you're the NSA, they're pretty cheap. So we found out the NSA was basically storing snapshot to the internet and perhaps going to look at it in retrospect. With the advent of artificial intelligence to help make the sorting automated, where you can look at the data without knowing how the data is well formed, without knowing what format the data is following, without that artificial intelligence makes that possible. With the advent of quantum computers doing simultaneous calculations on different paths that can arrive at conclusions much faster than typical non-quantum state calculations, we get to the point to where even if you thought you had privacy, even if you thought you were encrypted, even if you thought you were obscure, the NSA could go back in time. So what can you do? Not a lot to combat the NSA. I'll just be honest with you. If you want to fight the NSA, you're probably the underdog. In fact, you're a significant underdog. Main thing to do is to use basic security and just hope you never get on their radar. Don't trigger their warning system. If you make multiple trips overseas, if you're a journalist pawing through private sensitive data, potentially leaking something, you're up against a strong adversary. But let's talk about regular hackers, non-nation state hackers. Here's something you can do. Have a good, strong password. Now, a strong password is not monkey123. It is not your mother's middle name, your maiden name. A strong password is either, and I'm going to say that you may not know this, a strong password is either at least 12 digits long, made up of random or pseudo-random, lowercase, uppercase numbers and symbols, or, did you know this one? At least 4 to 5 random and unrelated words. So if you can find 4 or 5 words just randomly through flipping in a dictionary and write those down, that's a pretty decent password. Now, if the program if the website you're going to apply this password to says you can't type in that many characters, you should know that website is probably not the best programmed. So in addition to passwords, what do? We do what they call two-factor authentication. I've got one of my two factors here. Make sure I don't show my serial number. It's a YubiKey. So this little device allows me to stick it into a computer and punch this button right here. And the two-factor means something you know, one factor, your password. The second factor is something you have, in this case, a YubiKey. Now you can get these online for about $20 to $40 depending on which version you get. And they work great for your computer. So if you want to protect your email accounts on your computer, this is a great way to do it, because when you are asked that second factor, you just press the button and it lets you in. But we live in a smartphone world, so what do you do on smartphones? You can use two-factor authentication with, so I can pull it up here. Yeah. Well, so you can pull up what they call an authenticator, a 6-digit code that counts based on what time it is, and it's unique to every website. So the first factor will be your password. The second factor will be your smartphone or any device where you install the authenticator. And the authenticator doesn't need a button press like the YubiKey does, but instead it works by you typing in a 6-digit code. And oftentimes, in fact, you won't use an authenticator app. You'll use a text message service. Now, text messages are not as secure as using an authenticator app, because here's a story I'll tell you in just a second. So your text messages could be hijacked. But you might think, well, why would they hijack my text messages? Because they can get into your accounts that way. So anyways, I'll finish what I'm saying about using a second factor. So it's better than nothing if your second factor is a text message. But here's something that happens to people, to real people. They'll call up Verizon and say, hey, I lost my phone and I need a new SIM card. And yeah, my mother's maiden name is Tommy. I'll make up a name. Okay. Yep, we got you in the computer, sir. Here's a new SIM card. Just stick this in your phone. The minute that hacker, cracker, thief, whatever you want to call them, puts that SIM card in their phone, they now have access to your phone number, and you're shut out. And it doesn't matter if Verizon gets it straightened out later or if AT&T gets it straightened out later. For the moment, they now have your text messages. And on most websites, unless you tell them that, hey, you have an authenticator app, you can use those text messages to reset your password and then to log in. So that's a common way that thieves can get into your email. And once they're in your email, it's a good chance they can get in everywhere. Have access to all your private data, not just embarrassingly so, your text messages, your photos you've shared, but also your private financial records. One common scheme today is what they call crypto locker. They'll take your data and lock it up, encrypt it, and hold it hostage, and say, we'll give you access back to your data if you send us some money, some Bitcoin. The truth is that Bitcoin can be traced, so they're catching on to that. So now it's starting to get, well, if you send us cash at this spot here, truth be told, it's one of those things where they may get caught, but you're already hurt. You're already damaged. And so you don't care if they get caught or not as much as you want to prevent this from happening. So if you have, like AT&T, for instance, you can put a PIN code on your account. Don't make it an easy-to-guess PIN code. Even then, AT&T agents may still give someone else access. So always go into your settings on your accounts, and where it says two-factor authentication, make sure that text messages are not a sole way to get into your account, because if you do, you may find that someone could steal your text messages, could steal your phone number. So what have we covered? Smartphones, updates, smartphones in decline, antivirus. The best antivirus is education. I guess I'll throw in this, by the way. Windows has built-in antivirus. I know most of your computers today come with McAfee or Norton built in as a trial. The first thing I tell people to do is just uninstall that, because it's just going to harass you for a credit card and put the credit card on your computer in 30 days. And Windows built-in antivirus is good enough. And again, the best thing to do is just to use an up-to-date browser like Chrome or Firefox or even Microsoft Edge. And be aware of what you're installing on your computer. Be alert. Be attentive to security matters. Don't install anything without thinking, well, what is this? Be careful when you click. I think the test has gone pretty well. I expected maybe a call or two. I guess I was thinking there would be some people to call. I mentioned this. I got this text message about 10 minutes before I was preparing to go live. It's from a friend of mine, Cleo. So, Cleo, I'm going to answer your text message on the video. I'll call you after the show's over, but I'm going to put this one out there because I tell you, this is not one person's problem. This happens a lot. So, Cleo texted me. He said, let me pull it up here. Can you tell me how to unlock my email? I have AT&T.net. It tells me they have temporarily locked my email and says to change the password to unlock it, but it won't let me change the password. Could be a number of things going on there. And again, I'm going to call Cleo here in a little bit and try and walk him through it. But in general, if you get the wrong password too many times in a row, if you type in the password one too many times, as a security measure, these websites will temporarily lock you out. And if you keep trying to guess the wrong password, they're going to make you lock out even longer. So once you see, hey, you've been locked out, just stop. Maybe for hours, sometimes it may be a day. In this case, though, I'm not entirely sure if that's what's going on or if it was just a possible security alert, maybe that there was a misunderstanding of what the message said. Maybe he's not locked out. But maybe it said if you think the password if you think this request was coming from someone who's not you, you may want to change your password. So if you click on the I forgot my password link, you should get an email from your provider saying, here's a link to change your password. If this request did not come from you, you can disregard this, or you may want to change your password. But in general, when you try to log in, if you don't get the right password, they can freeze your account for time. The only thing you can do is wait. There's really no one to call if you have AT&T, .net, or any of those, webmail, even good ones like Gmail, or I guess Yahoo, which is really AT&T, or AT&T is really Yahoo. They don't care about you. You're a freeloader on their service. You're not paying for that email. And if you're on AT&T, yeah, you're paying them for it, but they still don't care about you because they outsold it to Yahoo, and Yahoo sold it to Verizon, and Verizon spun it off to Oath. And get off Yahoo Mail. Just Yahoo and AT&T Mail. Just get off it. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a bad mess. Because Yahoo had tons of privacy breaches as well, and Marissa Mayer, the CEO of Yahoo, kind of covered it up along with her security team. It's a long story. What you want to do, hey, we'll end this way here. What you want to do is you want to have email at your domain, at Liberty1Tech.com. You want to have your email so you get support, so that you own it, so you control it, and you can't get locked out. How do I get that? I'm glad you asked. If you subscribe to my Talk Text Plus service and pay annually, it's a monthly service, but if you pay annually, as one of the benefits, you get your own domain website with email that ends in at your domain, so your site or your website. So if you want to be able to have email at mydomain.com, you can do that yourself. It's fine. You can register a domain. You can set up email. You can register the email accounts. You can probably set it up and check your email. That's fine. I won't be offended if you do that. It's great. But it can get tricky, and you can also be tricked into overpaying for it. You don't need the Office 365 or whatever that GoDaddy is going to try and upsell you on. You don't. You don't need Exchange or Outlook, rather. So one easy way, this is self-serving, one easy way to prevent getting locked out from your email is to get your own domain through me. I'll help you out. And if I didn't say it, I think I said it. I'm JT Tolley Williams. If you're listening on this and you're a longtime listener of 101, you may have heard Tech Talk with Chase and Sam way back. And about 2003, Chase and Sam were kind enough to invite me to join their show, and I did. And it was still Tech Talk with Chase and Sam, but it was kind of like in the small print down there, and Tolley. I go by JT professionally, but it's Tolley as well. And we did something pretty cool with Tech Talk. I'm still kind of proud of this to this day. We turned it into Alabama's first ever podcast. We took the radio broadcast. It was on 101.1. Back then it was called The Source. And we podcasted it. And I've looked and I've looked and I've looked. Cannot find any evidence of anyone podcasting from Alabama before we did. So we created Alabama's first podcast with Tech Talk with Chase and Sam and Tolley. And so now here I am on the Heart of America Network. Michael Hart is network, and I'm helping Michael do his other shows on a technical side. And we're still working on some details. We're still working on getting situations figured out there. Mondays you can hear him do And Then There's That, which is a weekly news wrap-up and look ahead. Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's the regular Michael Hart Show at 8 a.m. You can join live on that show and talk. Thursdays, Megan Barth, the Reagan babe, calls in, and there's a big audience for her. She brings it, as they say. Wednesdays, it's Unknown America at 8 a.m. You'll hear Michael basically talking on different things that he's already written about in his book, Unknown America. And some things that are not in his book, Unknown America. History of America that the History Channel and the history books try to wash over, or they may just not even know. And on Friday, I'm particularly fond of this one. It's the situational security. I'm particularly fond of it because I was on it 2 weeks ago. If you want to go back and listen to the situational security podcast, one of the topics was keeping kids safe online, and I had a segment on that one. You can find that one at sitsec.info, SITSEC.info. You can find all of that stuff, all of it. Oh, the situational security is also about basically keeping yourself alive, safe, in any kind of circumstances, from schools to the workplace to economic downturns. You know, how to have security during bad economic times. It's a great show. I'm really looking forward to its future. All of that can be found at heartofamerica.net, heartofamerica.net. And if you, like Cleo, are locked out of your email account, if you need help, that's me, Liberty1Tech. Liberty1Tech has basically a monthly subscription unlimited help service. It's for VIP service. It means you get to text me anytime, and I'll help you within one business day. It's at Liberty1Tech.com. Look for Talk Text Plus, and you save 15% if you mention you were watching here. Just mention Heart of America or Liberty1Tech Live. Just say that you're watching live on the broadcast, and you'll get 15% off that service. Going to wrap it up here. We'd like to thank all the wonderful chats we had in our Facebook that I had to start ignoring there because they we got raided. Gotta love that. I don't know where they came from. And I will say this: I can't tell it right now, but if the video is lagging in the broadcast, we'll fix that. This is a test. This is the first ever live stream broadcast on Blog Talk and video, perhaps in the history of the universe. But at least for the Heart of America Network, it's our first time. And using not a mixer board, by the way, just a Mac with about 15 windows. My Mac fan, yeah, I got a Mac. But gosh, the price is gone. It's gone to the point where it's almost not worth it. We'll talk about that sometime in the future too. Join us again. I'm not going to commit to being here next Saturday, but maybe join us next Saturday. Maybe. Let me know what you think of this show. Send your emails to, let's do this. Let's send your emails to jt@101fam.com. jt@101fam, F-A-M, short for family.com. jt@101fam.com. Let me know your thoughts on this show. Let me know your thoughts about if you'd like to join the Michael Hart Network, the Heart of America Broadcasting Network. There may be a spot for you. There may be room here for you if you like to be a part of the network. What's your idea? Got a good idea for a podcast, for a broadcast? Help if you have a Mac. If not, we'll figure that out too. All right, so for myself, JT Williams, broadcasting live here on the Heart of America Network. Still just can't get over the trolls in the chat room here. Let me play some of this royalty-free public domain music to say goodbye, and we'll see you guys. I just come back Monday and listen to the Heart of America Network. Let me click a button here. Goodbye. If the buttons will click. Wow. I think we're frozen. Let's try it again. There we go. If you can hear this, it is working. It's been nice chatting with you. Thank you for joining. We'll see you soon. Oh, gotta put the background up. There we go.